Today's video, we're going to talk about YouTube ad sequences and why you use them versus just having one long video ad, which is what a lot of people are confused about. Why don't I just do that versus having multiple videos that people have to see one after another in a certain situated way to make money? So this is why you will want to actually use multiple videos. I've got the exact formula that we use in YouTube ad sequence that makes a lot of money at our firm. In addition to a lot of situations where we run a single video for a lot of clients at our firm and make a lot of money as well. So where I want to clear the air is where it's not appropriate to use multiple videos in a sequence versus where it's also not appropriate to use one long video. All in all, and long story short, where you're selling something that has less trust overall or is an unknown thing and there's no market for what you're selling yet, a sequence is generally going to be a better route to go than one single long video by itself, because rapport with the user and trust with the user doesn't get built in one video or in 30 seconds or 60 seconds or what have you, or even a 6-minute video if you want to run a long video and talk about that. So if you want to become really good at YouTube ads, you have to understand what is it actually going to take to get people's attention, A, but then also get enough trust so they believe what I'm saying on my video ad, of course. And then, beyond the rest of the stuff about targeting, getting in front of the right person and so forth. But I'm going to talk about that exact thing on today's video so you understand what you actually need to make money with the ads and whether a sequence is going to be the right thing for you or not. So before I get into the content though, if you do not know who I am Corey Zyman, owner of Guaranteed PPC, an online advertising agency that specializes in guaranteeing results for their clients. That is, we do not charge our clients management fees until we can get them a certain minimum lift in the profitability up front, basically in excess of the management fees that we charge. We're the only agency out there doing that, which should tell you something about the quality of information on this video. So with that said, getting into the content. Having more than one video ad increases cost, as there's no limit on how long a video ad can be. On YouTube, actually I'm sure there's a limit. I still haven't found it. I haven't tested uploading a 5-hour video to run as an ad, but there's videos an hour long that we've uploaded that's an ad, which I know pisses off a lot of users because, if you got some podcast playing and you're laying on your couch and you're listening to your podcast on the computer and a video ad comes on, you don't want to have to get up to click skip because the damn video ad's an hour, but they're effective and useful in a lot of cases to make money, I have to admit. Mainly because the person that's waiting for the ad to end, you can have and communicate a whole bunch of different information to them in the 10 minutes that it takes them to finally get up and click skip on the video. The point I was trying to make here specifically is, because the video can be any length that you want, you may say, well, why? Like if there was a 30-second limit on the video, in other words, and you had a lot of information to convey, you would need a bunch of video ads in sequence to convey it all. Where, ultimately, if you break a video ad into 3 different videos, you have to pay to get in front of the person 3 times. It's triple the cost, literally speaking. So therefore, why don't you just take all the information you would have in those 3 videos, package it up into one video, pay to get in front of the person once and be done with it? The answer to that question is about one little word called trust. Trust is the hardest thing to get that blocks people from making money from not just YouTube ads, but any display advertising that they're doing for their brand and business, because people don't trust anything anymore out there. There's too many scams. People don't buy from people they don't know, like, and trust usually. At least if they're being interrupted and they're not in market for it already, it's really hard to get someone to trust what you're saying. But even if they are in market for it, why should I buy from you versus the guy that I've heard about before? It's really hard to get that done. It's not hard to do it if you understand the process of taking a user who's cold, totally cold to your business, and warming them up. One of which main ways is to create a multiple ad sequence to get in front of the user that slowly takes them from being cold to familiar to ready to be sold to. But with that said, one video shown to one person one time generally isn't enough to sell to them and get that trust. And for that matter, if you don't believe me and the information I'm giving you here, which you should never take my information at face value, go do your own research. Try to collaborate it with other people. But there's something called the power of 7s in marketing that says you will generally not make as much money advertising and using your whole ad budget to advertise to people one time and more of them versus fewer people, but advertising to those fewer people more times. Because people do not take companies serious the first time they see an ad, this has been the way that it's been for 100 years now. And running online ads and YouTube ads, it's no different. People don't trust your ad nearly as much as the second ad they see after they see the first one, and then they trust the third ad they see more than the second and the first, and it just keeps compounding. Problem is, it costs more money to run subsequent ads, so you better know what you're doing if you're going to make sure your approach is going to be 7 video ads to get someone to buy versus just one long ad. So with that, certain videos showing before your main pitch video can go to get your main pitch when you do eventually make it to be more serious. Let me just be clear here. You will actually generally make more money advertising one pitch to somebody and just advertising it 7 times to them versus once. You could send out the same letter in the mail, to give you an off example here, because we do direct mail at our firm as well, once, but you will make, it'll triple the likelihood that somebody's going to buy from you if you send them 7 letters. It could be the same message each time. You're going to triple the amount of sales you get from each person, making sure they get 7 letters versus 1. And even if it's the same exact message each time. Now, what I'm suggesting to you is, and just like the bill collectors, where, if you haven't paid a debt and bill collectors bought your debt and they try to get you to pay, one of the things you'll notice they do is each letter that they send you is different. It says, you owe. And the next one is sending this letter to tell you about what we told you about before. And then the third letter is, this is your final notice. If you actually make the message different each time, you'll make even more than you will just repeating the same message over and over again, because it actually adds more depth and context to the discussion for the user and helping them make a decision. So you'll make the least advertising to the person once. You'll make more advertising to them a few times, the same message, and you'll make the most advertising to them a few times with different messages each time. That is where the YouTube ad sequence comes into play. You could have different messages to build up to the most sales with your users as possible, and mainly by building up trust and rapport in the user's mind. And rapport because you can actually, with YouTube ad sequences, communicate the value of what you're promoting, then come ask for the sale, which if you watch anything on, like even Gary Vaynerchuk talks about how on social media you put value out first and then you sell. That's the formula that works. Email marketing guys will say the same thing. You send out 7 emails with just value and then 1 pitch email comes. Video ad and video marketing on YouTube is the same thing. You can have several videos which just build value in the user's mind to build trust and value, and then you ask sales video by itself. If it were pitched to that same person, they would have never bought, but because they saw the other videos first, they're open to buying. Again, if you sell something that's obvious, like if you want to sell a $20 broom, you don't need a 7-series video series to sell it to them, because it doesn't take that much trust to get them to buy that. They know what a broom is, and it's only $20. The worst case scenario is they get ripped off for $20, they don't care. But when you're selling a $20,000 coaching package, you need to build up a hell of a lot of trust with that user before you can buy. And to the point where the only way you're making money is by to have several videos shown to the user before you even ask them for anything. So it just depends on what you sell. Now, here's the sequence that we're using at our firm in terms of video sequence that works, and where we're going to actually use a sequence versus having one video that's longer that tries to build up all the value in the user's mind within that one ad. And that is the following. You have a 3-ad sequence. Now this could be stretched out and technically made into a 7-video series if you think that you need extra videos to build up trust about whatever you're selling, or what you're selling doesn't work with the 3-video series. Which, by the way, to do a series with YouTube, there's a couple of ways you can do it. You could do it manually by coming up with a different video campaign that's meant to market to people who have watched a previous video, or you could set up your YouTube campaign and select the YouTube ad sequence option when you set up your video campaign itself. And it'll ask you for all the videos that need to be shown to that user, and you can do it that way. So it's really up to you how you do it. Personally, I still tend to like to put my videos into separate campaigns so that, if I have a 7-video series, I can see where the ROI isn't there itself, which you could obviously pause videos in a YouTube campaign with the video ads in a series there and using YouTube's own system to divvy out the videos to each user. But if you will, I want to see how many videos in is it where the ROI drops off at a certain point. I'm just going to stop everything after that. So I'm going to start out with maybe 5 videos or whatever, 3 videos, And if I could get a good return on 2 of them versus the other one, I'm just going to pause the other campaign, so to say. And for that matter, similar to that, I'm also going to, that first video that they're supposed to see, I'm going to make sure they see it several times so they actually pay attention to it, because if they only see it once, they may click the skip button and they never watched it. So I'm going to show that first video to them a few times, the second to them a few times, the third to a few times, so I make sure they see it, consider it, and they've digested it. And then I'm going to look at where the ROI drops off, given the ROI is going to typically drop off the further you get into the sequence. That's just how things work. Even if you have your video at the end that's supposed to sell to them, you'll notice at a certain point that you only need 2 videos or 3 videos to set up that sales video versus the 4th and the 5th and the 6th that you can just eventually pause because you realize you don't necessarily need it. Because what you can actually do with the separate campaigns, even though the 4th video doesn't do any selling, you could actually have it where your conversion tracking tracks purchases up to 90 days with your conversion tracking window that you set up in your conversions menu. And then you can see if that person with the 90-day buys, because ultimately they're going to see the sales video later on. Then with that, you can see if you needed the 4th one or not. And did that contribute to the ROI that you need? Did it contribute enough sales to pay its own way? So with that said, we're going to start a typical ad sequence with an influencer or news video ad. So if we sell something that people don't believe in, they don't trust, they don't understand it yet, the best way that we found to start off the conversation with that user is to pay a news organization to review the product in the new product section of that TV program. And I do mean pay, because you can literally go to any news station, contact the advertising department, say, do you have any upcoming features where you can feature our product? And what would be the price on it? It could be a niche TV show like a Food Network or whatever, where your product's featured in the show somewhere, or you're brought on to talk about it itself, or it could be on a news station like Fox News, which we've also done that. But bottom line, it might be for local TV, it might be $2,000. For national TV, it might be 10 to 30 grand. You get them to review that product, and then you have that video though as the first video in your sequence. If you can't afford that, or you don't think that's necessary, that will be the best. I will tell you up front that that's the best way to lead in. You do an influencer. You get a niche influencer if possible, otherwise just a bigger influencer to review the product, and you have that as your video that you enter with. And the reason why you start with this is because if somebody doesn't trust, know, or like you already, the best way to get them to start taking you seriously and take your message seriously is to let them see it being taken serious by somebody else that they already trust, like, and respect already. You're buying the trust, like, and respect of that person and using it for your own purposes. So to see this video, which, you basically, maybe you're on this local TV station or whatever, talking about, hey, this is one of the new products in 2026. And you talk about it, and it's a 60-second thing that you have on your product, and then that's your video. People see that. Now they're aware of the solution, and they know other people are talking about it. You're not, because what people don't want to do is be the first one who's tried something. Once they see it's on the news, they know lots of people have tried it. Even though they may have not tried it, they're going to think a lot of people have tried it if it's on the news, because they don't realize these legacy TV stations, they need money real bad. And they're willing to take your money for about anything. You can go to them, I want this, this, and this. They'll make a way. If you're willing to pay enough, they're willing to do almost anything nowadays. Sadly, if you want to say sadly, but that's the way that it is. See, that you have that as your first ad in the sequence. Then you have a YouTube ad that people will see that with a customer testimonial in it. People typically call these things UGC ads, where you have either a customer talking about your product on video, or you pay an actor to review your product and pretend like they're a customer, which it can be a customer. You send the actor your product, they try it out, so it's not a lie. And I like the actor approach because I can pick the exact look and sound of the person that's going to be reviewing the product, because that makes a hell of a lot of difference on your results, trust me, versus some, random 30, old man who has a stain on his t-shirt and all this unideal stuff. People buy based upon what they see. There's a reason why celebrities, influencers pay for all the plastic surgery and all that. They get taken more seriously the better they look. The halo effect, if you will. So if you're going to put money into an ad campaign, why not start the ad campaign with somebody that actually looks like somebody that people want to look at, but also has that looks similar to the customer who's going to be buying. Now, if you're going to sell to dirty old men, of course you want a dirty old man reviewing the product, which is why you would also want to hire an actor. You can go to Craigslist. You can put a ad on there saying you're looking to hire a local actor, male over 45, and you'll get a bunch of people messaging you, showing what they look like, showing what they sound like, and you can pick the one, you send them the product, and they'll review it. There's also influencer platforms like Insense, INSENSE, where you can get influencers to do a UGC style ad where they review your product as well. So there's different routes you can go with it. Bottom line though, you get them to review it and you say, as the video starts out something like, hey, I just got this product in the mail and it is great. Love this product because You talk about what it does, why it's good and everything else. So they see it on the news. Then they see a customer talking about it. Mentally, the way that this works on the user is the way that we've evolved as humans. We died if we ate the berry that we saw out in the wild that nobody else in our tribe has talked about. But if you saw somebody in the tribe talk about eating that berry before, you were less likely to die. And if you only ate berries that people have talked about before, you were likely to pass on your genes. That actually is amplified when you've heard 2 people talk about eating that berry. You were more likely to not be affected, therefore more likely to pass on your genes. You were even more likely to survive if 3 people talked about the berry that you ate versus 2, and it keeps going. So the more people they see talk about your product or service, the more likely it is that when you pitch it to them, they're going to be willing to buy it because they trust what you're saying. The hardest thing that is to do once you have a product or service that's legitimate, that actually does give value to the user, is to convey to the user that you're trying to sell to that it actually isn't, if you will, because there's so much there and that's always what you're going up against. But they see the testimonial video and they say, okay, I know what this is. I've seen this before. Wow, a lot of people are talking about this. Now you're actually set up to do the sale, which you may, the best effect, have 3 customer testimonials or even 5. 1 to 3 usually is going to be the best. And then you have your main video ad that pitches the product or service there as their 3rd video or last video in the sequence. That's your video ad sequence that I would recommend above all others. That's going to work the best, that works the most amount of time at our agency and should work the most amount of times for you, percentage-wise. Okay? Now, I have a case study here where we did this. We had a influencer review a skateboard that we had, and then customer testimonial videos here that we ran, and then we ran a sales video at the very end itself. As far as, and what we did was we looked at the cost per sale before and after because before this particular client, when we started working with them, they just had plain old sales videos that they were trying to run. The campaign did not produce very good results, which is why they're even talking to us in the first place, trying to find out, is YouTube ads even worth running or not? Just adding these 3 videos up front, the 2 customer testimonial videos and the influencer video, it made all the difference on the ROI, which is basically what it should do for you, which ultimately a lot of people aren't going to do this because it's a hassle to put these videos together. But getting trust from the user when you pitch them is 90% of the sale, I mean, practically speaking. Yes, you have to spend 10 grand to get it featured on the news, but if it works, you're going to make $1 million in sales over the next year. So what difference does it make? You save up your money, get the video. At the very least, it's going to increase profitability of your other ads. If you could put that feature on the news that you had on your website and on your product pages, by the way, it'll pay for itself just from that alone. Then obviously you get sales from people seeing that news station, that your product being pitched on TV and then going to your website. That's not very valuable in itself anymore because there's not enough people watching TV unless you really, really have market fit as to what you're selling is what the people watching want. We've had times where we sold toolboxes on a show where people are talking about working on cars, typically on that TV show, and that in itself, the sales that we got off of the views on that already paid for the ads. And then we got free material to use on our YouTube campaigns. With that said, the additional 3 videos made all the difference on the ROI that we had. Fixed the problem with getting YouTube ads to work where we couldn't get them to work before. For that matter, if you want to know all the little details on getting these same results for yourself, of course, this ad sequence is one of the best ones that you can run. I would recommend you at least start there. There's a lot of small details you have to know about YouTube to get it to work right still. I talk about these details on this channel all the time. If you are serious about making money with YouTube ads, you should subscribe to this channel because I'm always talking about the latest and greatest strategies with it. Given that we run dozens of these campaigns, have run 100+ different YouTube campaigns over the last decade of running this advertising firm, and you want to know and learn from somebody who's actively doing it and making money from it. So if you haven't subscribed to this channel already, in other words, you should. because I have all this information for you and you're going to learn from the best, so to say. Somebody who actively is in the weeds doing the work on an ongoing basis, not people talking about it. And then furthermore, if you like the channel, you should check out my blog on my site at guaranteedppc.com/blog. My blog has even better information on it technically, because all the strategies we're using at the firm, we got them documented there with the screenshots, everything you need to use them. You should check that out as well if you're interested in this channel. But with that said, the case study for the skateboard product that we had, before we ran the campaign, or before we added the 3 video that had to be seen by the user before they saw the main pitch video that we had before, our cost per acquisition was $182 per sale. And on a skateboard that, isn't $500 in cost, that wasn't going to be our cost per transaction and return on investment, or ROAS, that we got for our client's company at the end of the day. So what we had for this skateboard product and campaign that we ran, before we were only running the video ad with pitching and showing the skateboard product, all, how you can use it, what's good about it. We were at $182 cost per transaction itself, which is a very, very high number. Now, this is a premium skateboard that costs a decent amount of money, $500, approaching $500 that we charged. However, $182 is not enough after all the company expenses. Our margin's just not good enough. That's not a profitable campaign for us to be able to run. What do you think happened once we started showing the influencer video and the 2 customer testimonial videos to the user before they ever saw the sales video? What do you think that actually did to the actual cost per transaction that we got at the end of the day? $22 cost per transaction once we implemented the series of videos and the setup videos that would actually be shown to the user before they saw the sales video. So we're talking, the sales video itself converted 7 times better roughly than what it converted before without them seeing these other videos. Now, that said, it costs money for the user to see 3 other videos before they get to our sales video. So that isn't everything. The familiarity dropped the cost per acquisition drastically. However, the return on investment increase wasn't 7x here. Of course, when you factored in the cost of what it cost to advertise the 3 videos to every person before they saw the sales video, and you added that into the ad spend it cost to sell to each customer, our return on investment, which we had before around 261% on the last 90 days that we ran this campaign before we made the switch to this new model to try to get the ROAS up over 350, which is basically what the target was on this campaign to make it truly profitable after the client's expenses and so forth. We went from 261 to 489 altogether in terms of ROAS. So over the minimum ROAS mark that we wanted, and ultimately making the campaign a success. With that said, ultimately you should see similar results for yourself. If you don't have the return on investment that you want marketing a single video to your audience, who you think will buy, then the best, easiest way to fix the problem is doing exactly like what we did for this client. Either getting a news station or an influencer to review your product, 1 to maybe 3 customer testimonials together, and show those videos before people see your end sales video here at the end of the day, and just see what happens ultimately. If you do your first videos right, once they see the sales video, it's really just cleanup at that point in time. They wanted it already, basically. Or at least a good chunk of them wanted it already, and then you're just showing it to them and you're giving them an outlet to buy. And for that matter, your sales video, the way that usually you do the cleanup is you show the sales video, and then you have something on there that says, we're running a special this month only, 25% off of the product. Just use Thanksgiving 25. By the end of Thanksgiving, you'll get it 25% off to build the urgency to click through the ad right away and buy. That's another secret to get everything to work on YouTube, by the way. If you want to know all the techniques to get YouTube to work, you want to subscribe to this channel and pay attention to what we have on this channel. And you want to also pay attention to what we have on our blog on our site at guaranteedppc.com/blog, where I write down all the strategies that work. That's your formula in general. And for that matter, to sum things up as well, you still got to understand how to put a good video script together and the nuances to this. If you have more money than time, so to say, and you don't want to do it, you don't want to go through and trial and error it over and over again, then you reach out to my firm and I'll be able to set this up for you, no problem. Or at least guide you on the script to use for the videos, precisely what will work, won't work. You can reach out to my firm at guaranteedppc.com and we'll have a discussion about it. And if we work together, we're going to offer you a minimum guarantee of results. We also sell a couple other services that you may be interested in. If you don't want somebody just handling your campaigns, outright, I offer coaching where I can go through exactly what you need to do. In a 30-minute coaching session, I can tell you what you're planning to do. Is it likely to work or not? And you run with it and run with the ideas. Or if we've worked in your niche market before, you can buy the winning ad templates that we have for your market, and landing page templates and all of it, and video ad templates we had some for your market. We've worked in over 100 different niche markets, so the chances are quite high. We've already got the results you're looking for in your niche market. And then with that, you can copy paste whatever we had that we used to generate a profitable result for our client in a different city or different country into your account, and you get the same results for yourself. We could tell you the results you're going to get with it up front as well, because of course we've already generated the results from it and we track our results. So if you're interested in that, you can also reach out to me at guaranteedppc.com. With that said, that pretty much spells out ad sequences, how you do them, why you do them. For that matter, if your ads don't work, consider using a sequence as the next logical step in what you're doing, namely because people don't trust, especially what they see on YouTube ads, because there's so many scam ads on YouTube. If you're going to get across to the user and make them trust you, you want to do that. If you're talking about Facebook ads, it's going to be the same thing. Ultimately, the ads they see before the main ad make all the difference on your Facebook profits as well. And the same stuff applies. And in fact, if it works on YouTube, it'll work on Facebook. If it works on Facebook, it'll work on YouTube. That generally always applies. So just another tidbit of information that you should know. With that said, I'm going to wrap it up with that. Hopefully that was useful for you, and I'll see you on the next one.
Remember when I said YouTube ads was important during this video? Well, this video here tells you how to do it.